Alright, so the first thing we have to understand is resolution. So this document is 300 by 8.5 by 11. Okay? So if I was to make a brand new document, just choose letter and choose 300 dots per inch. I rarely paint on the background layer. I always paint on another layer. So I would go layer, new, layer, and OK. Another thing that's very helpful is painting on a background that's other than white so you don't go blind. Okay, so here I'll choose something very light, like maybe a lightish gray blue. No, I changed my mind. I'm going to go with a gray because I'm teaching you how to do black and white painting at first. Okay, so don't introduce any color because you could accidentally pick up the color, and I'll show you how that goes. Alright, so now we need to fill this layer using the paint bucket tool. There we go. Now that I have that, you should just get very organized. I would keep this handy. This right here will definitely tell you your thumbnails. So you want to go like that to it. Pull it out, make it a little bit bigger, but not too much. Enough so you can still get to your layers and still see this very clearly. Okay, now my favorite brush. In this set, 371 is my favorite brush. I'll probably use that about 100% of the time. The opacity I keep real low. And then I'll choose white for the other one color and black for the other. Notice X on the keyboard will flip these colors. So you can quickly put your paw, your right or left paw, on X and switch those colors out. Another thing you got to know is Alt. Alt will steal color. So just check it out for a second. You know, up here, and I'm painting up here, and I use Alt to steal some of this gray value. Now notice what's going on. I'm getting some initial drag. This is a bad thing with digital painting. Do not paint like this. What I'm doing is putting down a stroke, and 3 seconds later I actually get to see what the stroke looks like. That's bad. That's when you take your image size and reduce this by half. Let's say 150. What's that do for your painting? Absolutely nothing at this point. You're still working on the basic elements of your painting. So you can use a real low resolution and keep your painting really fast. Okay, so now let's try that. Okay, still sort of slow, but that's when I'm going to go to my Firefox, right click and close group, and anything else I can get rid of. And I can't get rid of that. Good. Another thing we're going to do before we even start is under Control Panel. We're going to use the Wacom tablet, and this is also on the Mac under the Apple key, under System Preferences. Load this up and make sure Photoshop is in here. Another thing you should try is under the mapping for the pen, I have double click on this thing. If I assign a key, however, a modifier, and choose Alt instead of Control, and hit and close this out, what that does in Photoshop, when I click the little button on the pen, now I have one less shortcut to worry about on the keyboard. I now have Alt, which is color steal. Now, that's just a few tips. Again, I'm going to choose black here and try this out to see if my memory can handle it. For the video, what I'm going to do is reduce this down to 72 dots per inch. Don't do that on your end. Good. It's very fast. Nice. Okay, so before I even paint, I make sure everything is set. Make sure under brushes, we have this little menu over here. Notice my brushes are got this little coily cue going on. So every once in a while, if you don't want that to occur, you can turn the spacing down and you get a tailored look. Now, I sort of like it in concept work. So I'm going to just put my spacing back to about 10%. And I'm going to get this coily cue effect. It'll offer a texture within your painting. Something in a concept point looks really nice. Okay, now how these work. If I click here, notice these go away. If I want to mount this just with the navigator, I can go like that. Just like that. And I'll put the navigator right about here. Alright, I doubt I'm going to be using this, so I'm just going to streamline this for painting. Okay. So I'm just getting ready. Anything that I'm not using in here, brushes, just going to be using this and this. There we go. This is very streamlined for painting now. You don't have to do this, but it does help. Now if we want to save this, we can save workspace. And I'll call this painting. Oops. Cap locks. Alright, so now that we have the basic navigation down and the basic setup down and what memory requirements and how to get everything out of memory and how to set up the Wacom tablet, we are now ready to paint.